Hey guys, welcome back to the Glory Living channel. My name's Hannah, and today we are not outside doing gardening. We are actually in the kitchen. It is a rainy day. I want to talk about something that's kind of been on my mind and I'm seeing kind of explode over the internet. People talking about how hard it is for them to buy groceries, afford groceries, and I want to talk about things that our family has done to help make that so much easier and more affordable and not as hard on our wallets and our budget. So I want to share those ideas with you and hopefully get your mind turning on some practical ways to save money and to cut your grocery bill down. Nobody really likes the term budget. Nobody wants to budget and the crunch money and try and save. But you know what? No matter how much money you make, you really want to have a budget and you want to be able to be responsible with the money that you have. I'm going to give you some practical tips today on no matter where you are on the money scale or your income scale. It can be helpful to really controlling how much money you're spending and ways that are practical to cook really good food, but also still save money. I think sometimes we feel like we cannot have quality food and also be on a budget, but we can do both. And I think our family has done a good job at trying to figure that out and try and balance that out. Not perfectly, we continue to try and do better at that. So let's get into 5 different ways that you can still make good homemade meals and not spend as much money at the grocery store. A real challenge in our culture in America is to get away from convenience foods. But I'm gonna tell you what, that's gonna be the first one we're gonna talk about. And don't click off. I know a lot of people talk about this and a lot of people love convenience foods. And I do too. And it doesn't mean I never buy convenience foods. But I'm gonna tell you, that's where they're getting your wallet. Convenience foods, because they're convenient, they can charge you more for them. I still make convenience foods and I still make my own in order to have convenient meals because sometimes we need things on the go, the day gets away from us, and honestly, I hate making breakfast. So I try and figure out how to make my life the most convenient while also saving money and also saving time in the long run. I know that people love convenience foods. I'm right by the freezer because this is just one of those places where we buy things that are really easy to make for our families and quick to do. But that is where they get you as far as more expensive food in the grocery store. You're not gonna be able to probably replicate everything that you like that's convenient at the store to buy, but there are lots of things that are easier to make at home than you think they are, whether they're different types of seasoned rices at the store, whether we're talking about breakfast waffles, or we're talking about even breakfast sandwiches that you can warm up quick and easy in the mornings. These types of foods can actually be made really easily at home. If you make batches of waffles, guys, they freeze so easily. I made waffles. We had breakfast the other night for dinner, and I froze them and had them the next morning for the kids. You pop them out and you throw them in the toaster just like an Eggo waffle. We have a small waffle maker. You could do the big ones and cut them up to the quarters and put them into the toaster, and they're a super fast breakfast. If your kids love like frozen waffles, you can make those yourself ahead of time. It doesn't take that much time, and freeze a bunch of them in gallon baggies. You don't even have to wrap them in freezer paper. I just chuck them in a bag and throw them in the freezer, and they break off easily, and they're a really, really fast breakfast. Doing things like that really saves time. You can freeze all sorts of things that you wouldn't even imagine. Even things like pizza dough, so you can make a fast pizza and all you have to do is thaw out the dough. Another thing that I love that is very convenient and very fast is pasta sauce. I would make bigger batches of pasta sauce and I would put it in gallon freezer bags, and you lay it flat so that it can be stored really easily. When you do that, you're saving yourself time and money in the future. It's very easy to make pasta sauce, and if you make it in bigger batches, you can, like I'm saying, freeze it, and if you take out sauce and you have pasta on hand, you can make a 20-minute meal. I also freeze meatballs, so I can have frozen meatballs, you can have frozen sauce, warm it up in a pan, boil your water, and cook your pasta, and you have a meal. I'm telling you, you could do that in like 20 minutes. So you can have convenience foods too for a busy lifestyle, but also make them from scratch and make them at home. They're gonna be healthier, they're gonna be cheaper, it's definitely gonna save you money. Another great tip for saving money is buying a whole chicken. Like sometimes they will be labeled as a whole fryer chicken. Buying one of those is much cheaper. Roasting that in the oven and then using that not just as its own meal, but taking the chicken off of the bones and using that for multiple more meals throughout the week. Those chickens tend to be almost half the price per pound as like boneless, skinless chicken breast, which is the type of chicken that I like to buy because I like being able to have the boneless breast for baked chicken. I cut it up for stir fry, all those things. You can actually do very similar meals with a whole chicken. Okay, so what I have right here is actually my cast iron Dutch oven. This is great for roasting a whole chicken in. You have that roasting in the oven for a few hours, and if you let it rest for a while in the warm oven, the juices come out of it and it just cooks in its juices. It is so easy to get off the bone. In fact, it's so easy, it's almost hard to get it out of the Dutch oven because the bones and the meat are just separating. This has been like one of the easiest ways because I hate taking chicken off the bone. Absolutely hate it. But if you cook it this way, it comes off so easily. And then you have that chicken, whether you want to make soup, stir fry, chicken salad, anything that you can think of, casseroles, all sorts of different ideas that you can make for dinner, lunches, and so on, that you can take from that chicken and get 2 or 3 meals off of one whole chicken. For our family, for sure. If you have a larger family, it might not go as far, but still, it's cheaper. It's about half the price per pound as some of the other cuts of chicken. I have found that's a great way. Even if you bought 2, even if you had a really big family and you had 2 roast chickens that you cooked, it would still end up being cheaper, and you could reuse that chicken later in the week for multiple other meals. You can get really creative with it. There's lots that you can do with it. It's a great way of saving money, and honestly, it's a super easy dinner. As long as you're home to be able to let it roast in the oven. There's other ways people roast them in Instant Pots and things like that. For me, if I'm home and can do that, it's like the easiest way to cook chicken because I'm just throwing seasonings on it, throwing it in the oven, and it just does all the work. Do a couple easy sides and we're good to go, and we have a meal that everybody really loves. This is a great way to stretch your food. It's a really inexpensive way to buy meat. I want to go into another tip as well as far as saving money and buying meat. Let's go into tip number 3. Okay, tip number 3, when you buy meat, buy it on sale. This sounds obvious, but if you can get into a habit, sometimes it's hard to get started doing this if you're already really on a tight budget. But if you can get into the habit of buying meat more in a bulk way, and what I mean by that is when you see a really good sale on chicken, don't just buy what you might need for that week, but buy lots of it. That way you can go home, package it up in freezer paper and gallon bags, and put it into your freezer. This makes it so that next week when you want chicken, it is going to save you money because you would have to pay more next week to buy that chicken, where you already have it in your freezer in portions that you're going to take out for your family, whether that's 1 pound, 2 pound, half a pound portions, whatever you need for you and your family. And it's already right there in the freezer and you've got it at a good price. If you can do that when you see meat going on sale, that's going to save you a lot of money in the long run, as well as it gives you many options for while you're already at home, less time going to the store and trying to throw things together. Shop what's on sale and try and buy things ahead of time, and a lot of it while it's on sale. That way you have it. Also, it helps you with inflation. As prices seem to be going up, this can help you kind of fight against inflation as well, because maybe you'll get a really good sale, but that sale might not be the same type of sale they can give you in 6 months. It might still be the same, but it's good to, I like to get meat in bigger packages. That way I just have it in the freezer and I can get it at any time and use it for what I need it for. That goes into my next tip, which doesn't save you as much money as these other tips do, but it's still helpful, still makes it easier for you to be able to cook at home and still be creative with your meals. Tip number 4, I would say, is keeping all of your basics, including spices, on hand. One way of saving money is having individual spices instead of spice mixes, as well as keeping the basics like flour and sugar on hand. When you do that, there's a lot more that you can make from scratch. At a moment's notice, you can have the ingredients that you need, as well as not relying on having to have like a taco seasoning packet or having to have Bisquick or things like that to make a recipe. You'll just have it and you can make things easier from scratch. This saves you money. This is also good for your health. There's other things that get thrown into the mixes of spice mixes, any types of flour mixes as well. These tend to have additives, and that might be better to avoid if possible, and especially in a little way like that. And it's easy of just having these things on your shelf, especially spices. I used to never make my own spice mixes, and I always had taco seasoning and chili seasoning mixes. And in your mind, you think, this is 50 cents for these packages. Like, what's cheaper than that? But really, it actually is cheaper to mix your own seasoning, plus healthier for you, plus it gives you more freedom. If I have tons of meat in the freezer ready for me at any moment that I want it, then what ends up happening is that if I want to make tacos, I don't have to rely on having enough seasoning packets or that I picked it up that week at the grocery store, but I'll just have the seasonings and I can mix that together myself. Whatever we're craving, I don't have to rely on having those pre-made packets if I learn how to do those things myself, as well as having flour, having sugar. That opens up my possibilities for my recipes as well, and not just relying on some of these pre-made packaged items that use flour, that use spices, but learning how to do those things yourself, that is going to save you money and it's going to be healthier for you. Also, it gives you the freedom to be able to make what you want when you want it because you can just combine those seasonings yourself. Additional to this, it's easy that if you are relying on that type of convenience spices or these type of convenience flour mixes, that if you don't have them but you're craving something, to run to the store thinking you'll just get that one thing. Well, if you can keep yourself out of the grocery store as much as possible, that's also going to save you money because we are impulse buyers, guys. We go in, we're hungry, it's dinner time. Say you've started dinner and you forgot your seasoning packet. You go into the store, you're probably not just leaving with that seasoning packet. So grocery stores know this. They want you in the store. They want you in there as much as possible. It makes you spend more money. So if you can learn how to keep yourself out of the grocery store by keeping those kind of main basic fundamentals, flour, sugar, spices, things like that in your house, that's going to help save you money up front with just not having to buy the convenience versions of those, and also not always relying on the store to have those, so that you might be running into the store to get those more convenient mixes and maybe even spending more money. But I just think those are not just good for your wallet, but they're also good for your body too. Last main tip I want to give is just also buying fillers for your meals. Things like rice and pasta are great fillers to help make you feel more full after eating a meal and not having to add more of the expensive parts like the meat. When we eat things like chili, which is a pretty inexpensive meal, it does have meat, but it's made with beans and tomato sauce, and that's really affordable. But it's not always as filling unless we put rice with it. That's what our family does. We always put rice with it, and that makes it so filling. We are so full by the end of it. Soup is another great inexpensive meal that also tends to make you feel full by the end of it, probably because of all the liquid, but we also like to put pasta and rice with that as well. Pasta is another great meal if you're on a budget. I know that there's a lot of diets out there now that are trying to avoid flour and gluten and things like that, and I totally understand. But if you can do it, and if you are really on a tight budget, or if you just need to save money, having one pasta night a week is really, really helpful. And if you can even make it a pasta meal that has no meat in it, that really helps. When we were really on a budget, I really didn't want to make spaghetti with meatballs or a meat sauce or anything, but my husband is a meat eater. He loves it. So it was really hard to do that. If you can take the meat out, it really helps the budget, even just one night a week. But if you can't, having more filler in there so you can have less meat is a really good option. Stir fry, rice. You can make things like ziti and spaghetti, soups with rice, chili with rice. Adding these on the side really help fill the belly, and they're super, super inexpensive, especially rice. Rice is a great option if you're trying to avoid flour. If you're trying to avoid carbs in general, these are not friendly, of course, but these are great fillers and a great way to make a meal stretch and tend to be less expensive for you when you're trying to keep things on a budget. One last throwaway tip I just want to give you is that if you can somehow figure out how to limit your snacks or make your own snacks in a more affordable way, that's really going to save you a lot of money. I love snacks. I love a bag of chips. If you gave me a bag of Kettle salt and pepper chips, I could devour it by myself with a good movie on. But those are expensive, and I mean, obviously not super good for me. So here's the deal. We're not always good about this, but trying to make our own snacks can sometimes save money and be healthier for you. I actually have a video on how to make your own Cheez-Its, and they're delicious. So if you want to check that out, I'll try and remember to put a link to it here. Also, another really inexpensive snack is popcorn. That is such a yummy snack and so easy to make, really quick, really fast, and pretty healthy for you. So that is a good snack as well. Trying to limit your snacking or learn to love apples and peanut butter, things like that. Dehydrate your own fruit. That's something you can do to have a crunchy snack if you really like that crunch at the end of the night, but you want something a little healthier. There are ways of making healthier snacks and making them cheaper. Once again, it goes back to convenience. Like, they can charge you for doing work for you and making your life more convenient. I love convenience food in the sense that I love things that I can make fast and quick. We live busy lives, and sometimes the day gets away from us and it's dinner time. And sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I don't want to make breakfast. If I can find something that's fast but also healthy, I can feel good about the choices I'm making for my family, financially and just health-wise of what they're eating, and make it quick. But there are ways of getting into just desiring convenience where it's hard on your body and it's hard on your wallet. So if you can remember that, if you're buying something that's easy for you to make, they're probably charging you more that they made it easier for you to make. So if you can get out of that habit and even have a few days a month where you like prep food for the month in the freezer, whether that's waffles or sausage biscuits or whatever for breakfast, or making pasta sauce, that will really help your wallet, and it'll help you throughout the month to have easy meals that you can have on hand for you and your family. Guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful to you. If it was, please give it a thumbs up. Please share it with your friends and your family. And as always, please subscribe to the channel. It's really the best way to support us in creating this content for you. Thank you guys, and until next time, we'll see you soon.